This bed is on fire with passionate love. Is that even in this film?
No, I don't think so.
Luke, we've been getting a lot of comments from very angry Indians on our YouTube channel. So even though we've got, I bet we're on 110 right now, but it's not come without a cost, Luke. I'll tell you whether or not we've got more. But
yeah, we've got
129, Luke.
Fuck me, man. And I know, obviously you're referring to Slumdog Millionaire and the fact that a load of Indians are quite mad that it's not the actual movie. And they have been calling us names.
Yeah, well, I've picked up a few Indian words. When I say a few, I don't know. Like, one of them is like chupa, and I can't actually remember what it is. But the other one's madachod, and that means motherfucker. So, very angry. I don't know. These Indians, they get very upset.
Okay, yeah. Maybe they just really like Slumdog Millionaire. Which is ironic, because in the movie we talk about how... In the review, we talk about how Slumdog Millionaire wasn't that popular in India, and many Indians didn't like how it showed India. They thought it was, a Western stereotype of India. So all this is incredibly ironic, really, if you think about it.
I'll tell you what else is pretty crazy. Of our last 10 videos, the Roadhouse film review has got it's joint first in terms of views. So
people love next of kin. What can you say?
Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Right. Hello and welcome to Select and Reflect, the movie review podcast where we look at films that have come out relatively recently at the cinema and see if they still hold up upon a second watch. I'm your host Michael, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Luke, and this week we're not celebrating a release of anything in particular this week, are we?
No, we are not, no.
But it's been 20 years since the release of American Pie, so we're going to be reviewing that. And Luke, why don't you tell us a thing or two about American Pie?
Sure thing, Michael. So American Pie is a 1999 American teen sex comedy film written by Adam Hers and directed by brothers Paul and Chris Weitz in their directorial film debut. And it is obviously the first film in the American Pie theatrical series. And I guess it's one of the reasons why we're doing this, because this movie has a legacy, and it has created many films, like a couple of sequels, actually 3 sequels, and also various spin-offs as well.
4 spin-offs too.
4 spin-offs? Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I watched them all, Luke.
What are they?
They're really, really bad. Okay, let's see if I can remember them. Okay, so there's American Pie Presents Bandcamp.
I think I've seen that one.
American Pie Presents The Naked Mile.
I've definitely seen that one.
Which, by the way, that's the best one of the...
That's the best one?
That's the best one.
Oh my god.
Basically, I decided to actually log in some IMDb ratings for them, and I gave every single one, except for The Naked Mile, which I gave it 2.
Okay.
And then the next one was Beta House.
Haven't seen that.
And then finally, The Book of Love, which I was actually going to bring up a bit when we get into Kevin's storyline, but that's the last one. And yeah.
Okay.
So yeah. Did you want to...
Yeah, well, I'll just say a few stars in it.
Oh, yeah.
Jason Biggs, Chris Klein, Natasha Lyonne, Thomas Ian Nichols, Tara Reid, Mina Savari, and Eugene Levy. It was released on July the 9th, 1999, so just over 20 years ago. And Michael, do you want to have a guess at the budget for American Pie?
Well, not really. It's going to be a really difficult one. I mean, it can't have been much. Like, I don't know, 2.5 million?
Really?
3 million.
11.
Okay, I don't know. I mean, I guess it probably, they were quite confident it would make money. So, I mean, the thing is, because you could make this film for not very much money at all.
Oh yeah,
so basically,
I know.
It was just up to them how much they felt like spending.
But the thing is, you're hiring actors who have been in other stuff. Like, I recognise, obviously, Mina Savari. She was in American Beauty the same year.
Oh yeah.
And Chris Klein, I think he was in a movie in 1998. I can't remember what it was called, but I remember he was in it. So yeah, you basically, I think the budget was used upon getting actors who weren't like nobodies. And anyway, what is the box office, Michael?
Again, like, it's a cult classic, but I don't know how much it made this time. I mean, I'm going to guess it made like 250.
Yeah, that's a pretty good guess. 235. Well done.
Oh yeah, great.
Yeah,
well done.
Well done, you. No matter, Michael, how much I say well done, that didn't really work, did it? But anyway, did you like American Pie?
I liked it, yeah. I thought it was, I mean, basically, it's definitely succeeded what it wanted to be. I mean, it was no La La Land. I just looked at some of my high-rated films.
Oh, right.
There was no Moonlight, but, I mean, for what it was, it's a pretty good example of your classic teenage sex comedy, and it's, nobody's going to be disappointed.
This sounds like a conclusion.
And I wasn't disappointed either. Yeah, I know, yeah. What did you think of it, Luke?
No, I was just, when you said La La Land, I was like, wait, because I thought you were referring to La La Land as a film which didn't accomplish its goals. Like,
that's what you. Okay, no, I see what you meant. Yeah, okay. That's not what I meant. Yeah. Well done.
Did I like this movie? Yeah, I think I did. And I think I'll explain why I liked it in the conclusion, although, there are some problems with it. Obviously, as you mentioned, it is not the greatest movie that mankind has ever created, but we'll get into that. So, Michael, how many nitpicks do you have?
I think I've got 2. Let me just double check. Oh, no, I've got 3.
I've got 1. Just 1.
Okay, yeah. This film, it's not a very easy film to nitpick, I guess, because it's like kind of a stupid comedy. Like, so. Yeah,
exactly.
And to be honest, like, I mean, some of mine aren't great as they never are. But Luke, what's your 1?
Okay, so my 1 is in 1999. I am absolutely betting 100%. There is no way the internet is that good to broadcast a video online. Like, there is absolutely no way. Like, I had obviously I grew up in, and had a computer kind of in that same era, a little bit later, and like.
Yeah, you were downloading porn when you were like 4.
And like, oh god, the internet. Kids these days, Michael. Kids these days, they're never going to realize how slow the internet was back in the day. Like, yeah, well,
I mean, I obviously didn't really use the internet much, but I mean, I remember, for example, there's stories about people who like downloaded the Phantom Menace trailer.
Oh yeah,
because they wanted to watch it, and it took like a day to download the Phantom Menace trailer. So yeah,
I was listening to a podcast the other day about Reservoir Dogs, and basically one of the guys on there was saying he downloaded the Reservoir Dogs trailer back in 1992, I think it came out, and he said it like took him 1.5 days. So obviously this is 7 years later, but yeah, like it's still, and the webcam and there's absolutely no way. No, I don't buy it. And also, like, how can any of the people who are watching it with that, that grainy footage actually see what's going on really that well? Like, they're all reacting to all the stuff, like they can see it with like, like
clarity.
Yeah, clarity, like like how the audience are seeing it. So that's my only nitpick.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't think even my webcam's that great. You wouldn't be able to see me prematurely ejaculate. Okay. You all know that. Yeah. Okay, so my nitpicks. Okay, number 1, what's the deal with fucking a sock? Because it's like something which I hear people talk about, and to me it just seems like, just because you're ruining a sock. And I just don't understand what's the problem with tissues. Like, for some reason, he's like, oh yeah, I've got to use a sock.
You're not nitpicking the movie here. You're nitpicking people who do that. As a completely different
you're right.
thing.
I am nitpicking. Yeah. I think maybe, so I've heard that, like, people who are circumcised, they need lube more. So
have you heard
maybe
this?
Well, I don't know. Like, I think I saw it on Reddit. Someone was like, "Oh yeah, you got to use lube if you're circumcised." And obviously, everyone in America is circumcised, and Jim's Jewish, so maybe he put some lube in the sock, and it kind of, Well, I mean, his dad looks pretty, and also, isn't his surname Levenstein or something?
Yeah, that's pretty Jewish. Yeah.
All right. So next one. How did he take so long telling the story about Stifler drinking the cum beer? So this is Jim. Is walking into the party with Band Geek Girl. I don't remember her actual name.
It's Michelle.
But Michelle, walking into the party with Michelle, and she's like, have you got any crazy stories? And he's like, oh, let me tell you a story. Jim walks into the party, into a room, and there's this beer. And then, like, a whole load of scenes happen. They're sat on the sofa, and he's like, and then he just threw up everywhere. So, I mean, I don't know how he managed to milk that story for so long. And then finally, wearing 2 rubbers is actually really bad, because the friction causes them to break. Now, obviously, you could easily say that's just the characters not being smart, but I just thought I'd bring it up because a lot of people think that wearing 2 rubbers is in some way more safe or better in any way, but actually it's bad because it means that they're more likely to break.
What about 3?
Oh, well, that's fine, because then the first 2 break and then you're left with the third one. That one's, all right, anyway. So, that's the nitpick. So, the plot. Why don't you summarise the plot, Luke?
Okay, I shall do that. Let me just get it up. Okay, so...
get it up.
That's great.
That's appropriate.
American Pie concentrates on 5 best friends. Jim, Kevin, Oz, Finch, and Stifler. I'm not sure about the Stifler part. He's not really in on it. Who attend East Great Falls High. With the exception of Stifler, who has already lost his virginity, the guys make a pact to lose their virginity before their high school graduation. The title is borrowed from the song of the same name and refers to a scene in the film in which the protagonist, Jim, is caught masturbating with a pie after being told that third base feels like warm apple pie. Writer Adam Hertz stated that the title also refers to the quest of losing one's virginity in high school, which is as American as apple pie. So there you go. That's where the film name comes from. It is, I often did think it was quite a weird name, but obviously it is explained in the movie. So anyway, Michael, American Pie. What do you think?
Yes. How do they know what the inside of a pie feels like?
What?
Well, okay, I've always, because, obviously it makes sense that people understand what a vagina feels like, having, touched vaginas, but I've never fingered a pie, so, I wouldn't be able to, to be honest, they probably just lied, but I was thinking that. Just because you brought it up just then, I was thinking, how do they know what a pie feels like?
Okay, well, Americans, maybe they really like apple pie, so, maybe they
do really, yeah.
They don't eat it with a knife and fork. I don't know.
Yeah, they eat it with their fingers.
Yeah, exactly.
They eat it with their penises.
That's my theory. So anyway, obviously, like I said, the premise is a bunch of teenage guys, high school, trying to get laid. Very, very simple. Nothing complicated about it. And obviously the key thing is they make a pact. And that is where the whole... the thing is they didn't really have to make a pact. Because I think they that bit's just, to... I guess add something into the movie, but all about.
They could have just said, "Let's try to do this."
Yeah, exactly. It's all about the trials and tribulations of getting to that stage of getting laid, and
yes, a relatable experience for many people who, it has to be said, they struggle, especially teenagers. They struggle with anxieties about whether or not they're late to the party, as it were. And, it's a perfectly natual thing.
Why do you sound like a sex ed teacher right now?
Well, I'm trying to sound like Jim's dad, actually.
Oh, right.
But I do think that's an important point, that this is kind of like a relatable story, obviously, let's just say a bit exaggerated in terms of what's happening. I don't think most people experience something quite like this, but the idea of, wanting to lose your virginity or just progress with the opposite sex is relatable.
Yeah, that's
probably
why,
more so for guys.
That's why it's so popular. And it was the revival, I guess, of the teenage sex comedy, and obviously being relatable, that's the key. That's why it spawned a whole fucking 7 movies after this. That's right, 7 movies. It's something that people can relate to, and men. I think it's meant to be teenage boys that can relate to mainly. That it is aimed at them more than anything. But I guess that's why it's successful. And the thing is, it's really simple. So I guess if you get that premise, a nice easy premise, something that's relatable, and you put together all the pieces, you can create a really, and obviously the comedy aspect as well. You need to make it funny, which I think this movie does, and we'll get onto that later. You can create a really just nice movie to watch, a fun movie.
Yeah. So, but obviously you've got these 4 different characters who have their little subplots, which, to be honest, don't really interact with each other that much. Basically what you kind of get is you get each character's plot, and then they sort of have moments where they meet up and talk about things. But generally speaking, you could sort of look at each character's plot quite separately. So that's what we've decided to do. Yeah,
you're right though. Because there are there seems to be a formula. They all go off and have their talks with the girl that they're into, and then they all convene back for a conversation, and they all go back with the girl, and they all convene back. So it's a very easy formula that they have here.
Yeah, but also I guess they all do have actual legitimate flaws or problems they need to deal with, and also I guess they all have character arcs. Probably. Maybe that will be established. I'm just trying to think in my head whether or not they all have character arcs.
Yeah, they do.
But to establish that, let's look at Jim. Probably the main character for some reason.
Probably. He is the main character.
I don't know, It feels... I don't like playing favourites.
Okay, right. So, Jim is different to all the others in terms of, trying to get laid, because he doesn't have a plan.
I wrote that. All I wrote for my first comment was Jim has the worst strategy. To be honest,
he doesn't have a strategy.
You're more accurate. Because he doesn't have a strategy.
The whole Nadia thing literally just falls into his lap. He doesn't do anything.
Yeah, he's so lucky.
Oz is, trying to... be sensitive, and obviously Kevin just needs to get with his girlfriend and all that, but Jim, he just he doesn't do anything. He's just wandering around having sex with pies. There's nothing that he doesn't have a plan. He's really slacking compared to the rest of the guys. He is really all over the place. He's the thing is, the scenes with Jim, obviously he's just getting advice from his dad. That's he's and like you said before, Nadia literally just shows up and gives him a lifeline, and of course he goes and blows it in a hilarious fashion.
So there's the classic scene. That's basically that's the thing. For him, obviously it is he doesn't really have a plan. It's mostly just basically he has to proactively be crap. It's not just that he is So the other guys, they have to go out and proactively be good. They have to go out and proactively do good things to get with girls. Jim, basically just everything falls into his lap. And the only way he's able to have any problems at all is because he just, screws it up on purpose.
Well, not on purpose.
But, he screws it up, I felt like I was using the word proactively too many times, so I was just reaching for some kind of synonym. Came up on purpose, but didn't really work. Came up on.
Yes, well, of course, Jim comes upon himself twice. And I don't think it is physically possible to do that.
I don't know, because I've seen there's a famous GIF of, I want to say James Dean, where he does it was called the GIF's called like on Imgos, or I don't know.
Which James Dean are you talking about?
Not the dead one.
You mean the porn star? Okay.
Yeah, the porn star, accompanied with the title "Instant Reload." So I don't know. Apparently, it's possible.
Wait, do you mean? Did you see it or not?
Well, I did see it. Yeah, I saw it, and it did happen. So right, it is possible.
Well,
So if you're James Dean,
okay. Well, he's he's probably he's probably the exception. I'm guessing. That's probably why he gets paid the big bucks to be a porn star.
Big bucks to do the big fucks.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, I do really let's talk about that scene and leave out the problematic elements of it. I think it's a great scene. Leaving out the problematic elements of it, because obviously it's just hilarious, him stripping and so cringeworthy, and then obviously he ejaculates prematurely, and that's meant to be the end. And the first time I watched it, I remember I was so surprised that he did it again. I was like, oh, that's really funny. That's a really good idea.
Took it to the next level.
Yeah, it really did,
which is good. Yeah, to be honest, I think it's very good cringe humor. It's and that's obviously a lot of this film. We'll get into it, but a lot of this film is cringe humor. But I think that's really good, and also it's the classic. I mean, again, it is absurd because you think about we've all had embarrassing things that have happened to us at school. I'll give you an example.
Okay. I wasn't expecting you to go down this road.
No, I'll give you an example. Okay, I'll give you an example. The point is, it's going to be a very mild thing. It's going to kind of show a contrast.
All right, okay.
So one time, these two girls, were due to have a fight.
What?
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to tag along. Because basically, it's people have arguments and they're like, hey, you and me at here at this time.
Girls.
Yeah, well,
wow.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, there was skanks, I guess.
Jesus.
But I was like, you know what? I'm going to come along. Okay. What I wasn't really prepared for though is that at one point, the not the police, but some kind of weird person who was wearing a uniform, but they weren't the police. They come over and they were wondering what was happening. And for some reason, my brain just went into autopilot and I just named both people involved. And everyone heard me and they were like, you're an idiot. You're a stupid dickhead for just naming the two people involved. You've ruined everything. Now they can't even have the fight. And also, you've just, snitched on two people. That's not a cool thing to do.
I'm sorry, Michael, but this sounds a lot like you. I can totally see you doing this.
Well, that's the thing. It's very believable. But the thing is, and that to me is probably my most embarrassing memory, just because I was like, why did I do that? And, everyone's like, you're an idiot. And, obviously, it seriously jeopardized my standing because I was, being really cool at this fight. And then suddenly I just cracked under pressure. They were grilling me too hard. I just gave in.
You had prime time seats.
Exactly. But that's my embarrassing story from high school, as it were. And obviously we call it secondary school. It doesn't quite compare
my
to...
school called it high school.
Oh, okay, yeah, so there we go. I do forget that actually, which to be honest, I'm perfectly fine with. I think
thank you.
Sometimes I think that Americans and British people, we just need to come together and say, you know what? We just need to agree on some stuff. And if that means
chicken
sacrificing the words... Yeah, to be honest, I think we could do kind of a swap. So Americans start calling elementary school primary school, and we start calling secondary school high school, and then we can all kind of come together in that compromise.
Did you get my chlorinated chicken reference, by the way?
I recognise it, but what's it from? Is it from It's Always Sunny?
No, it's about the Brexit negotiations.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
So obviously, with Brexit, if we do a trade deal with America, there's a lot of talk about how their chicken is shit and it's chlorinated. And that was the reference to that. But anyway, what were we talking about? You talking about?
Well, basically, my point was that this is so you take that example.
Yes.
That doesn't compare to being doing a striptease in front of every single person in your school and then jizzing yourself twice without even getting to any sort of base. So basically, what I'm saying is it's just very extreme, and that's kind of what this film does a lot with its plot.
I do like, by the way, the American way of describing third base or second base or first base.
Yeah, although what are the bases? I think I know. Okay, so first base is kissing,
yes.
second base is boobs, third base is touching the sexual organs, whatever they are. The thing is about it's not that I'm against saying penis or vagina. It's just that I felt like it would be quicker to use a gender neutral term.
All right, okay.
And then fourth base is having sex, right?
Yeah, although I've never heard sex referred to as fourth base.
As fourth base, yeah.
They don't call it that.
I guess it would be a home run then.
They don't call it that. I think it's...
Yeah.
They call it... I don't know. I don't think they call it fourth base, though, because it is like...
Yeah, they do call it something, yeah.
You finished.
I think they just call it home, don't they? And that's why it's called a home run, or is that meant that? Maybe not.
Right, let's stop.
I do remember there's like a TV show, or like there was a comedy thing where it was like these old people, and they were talking about different bases, and then there were like these young people, and basically the joke was that children are teenagers are much more sexual nowadays, and one of the jokes was like third base is anal.
Oh, all right. I go.
I can't remember what it is, but yeah, it's like a comedy. So, but yeah, I agree. It is a very good use of the bases.
Yes,
and use your bat.
No, I like the metaphor. Yeah, using the bat again. So anyway, I do like the fact that going back to Jim, obviously, he, as we said, doesn't get the deal sealed with Nadia, but he does have an arc. Like he just gives up on it all. He's just like, hey, I'm gonna ask you, Michelle, out to prom. Like, he doesn't even care. Like, he's just saying, it's a lot of bullshit pressure, and I don't really give a shit. It's not that important. And he learns the right lessons from his experience before he has sex. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. So basically, you gotta learn not to care before you can get there.
Yeah, well, he learns it's not the be-all and end-all, which I guess that's the kind of the ironic thing about this movie. Yeah, it's meant to be like, four kids teenagers trying to have sex, and that's the pact and all, but the actual message, like you say, is that that's not that important at the end of the day. It's more, it's like, I guess, the two of the relationships in this movie, are with somebody who the other person loves. Like, Oz says about, what's Mina Safari's character called? Heather, that's it. Heather.
Yeah, there we go. I wasn't going to say that.
He says, I think we're falling in love, and obviously Kevin says to his girlfriend, Victoria, that's it. I love you. So yeah, that's kind of the message of the movie. Yeah.
Yes. And I think Jim's character, he definitely is a bit. He does kind of encapsulate it in that he does sort of give up. Although he does give up in a bit of a nihilistic way. But yeah, also I think you could kind of tell that Michelle character was going to come into it because she was sort of in the background, and you were like, and obviously, yeah. So
and also
it makes complete sense. And to be honest,
I was just going to say, you can also tell she was going to come into it because I think Alison Hannigan was in Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yes,
and that was before this came out.
Yeah.
So I think
during while this was coming out.
I think it started there before. I'm going to check that.
Yes.
But anyway, what are you going to say?
I was just going to say, like, also, something which annoys me about a lot of these, and to be honest, this could easily come under the problematic stuff, although compared to the other problematic stuff in this is very minor. But a lot of these, like, teenage sex comedies, it's about relatively unremarkable guys trying to get with really beautiful girls, and, like, out of 100% out of their league girls, and, like, 99% of the time, the message is, oh, look, this really unremarkable guy got with this totally beautiful girl. And that's, that's how it should be. And obviously that's...
Yeah, because...
Whatever. I saw a good meme on the Tinder subreddit. It was like...
The Tinder subreddit?
Well, I went on basically, okay, so it's like... It functions very similar to, like, the Creepy PM subreddit. So basically, it's like one of those subreddits where you sort of just laugh at, like, the messages.
I just love how you pull these things out of nowhere. Like, a couple of weeks ago, it was like, the pickup community. Really
I mean, I like to stay informed about the internet.
Yeah, fair enough.
But there was like one of those surprised Pikachu memes, and it was like, me only swipes right to attractive people. Attractive people only swipe right to attractive people. Me, surprised Pikachu face.
Yeah.
And I thought that was quite funny. But anyway, the point is, obviously, Alison Flanagan. Hannigan. It's weird.
Okay.
Obviously, she's not ugly, but she's kind of not presented as she's not quite as flawless physically as a lot of the girls in this high school. That doesn't make me sound too dodgy, does it?
No, I don't think so, no.
And also, like, she's a nerd, and she's kind of... So basically, I like how Jim decides to be within his league. Very reasonable of him, even though he was the one person who least needed to be in his league, seeing as he's got this super hot Eastern European chick fawning over him. But whatever.
Think about it, like, he also... You talk about it's bad that he's nihilistic or whatever about sex, but it actually works that well because, like, he, as he says, he gets used, doesn't he, by Michelle, just to show that, sex is like, you can just get used and that's it, it's over. Then she leaves.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of, like, confirms his thoughts on it.
Yes.
Yeah. So again, like I think obviously the art that Jim has is emblematic of the whole movie's message.
And that's why he's the main character.
And that is why he's the main character, Michael. You are correct. Next, we should move on to Oz.
Yes, Oz.
Ozzy Osweiler. So,
as I call him, the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah. Oz goes down. He actually does have a plan of how to get laid. He goes down the path of trying to be caring and sensitive. And again, I think I brought this up in the Sleepless in Seattle one, but I feel like this was a big thing in the 90s, like trying to be like men being caring and sensitive.
It probably all started with the famous Mel Gibson film "What Women Want."
When did that?
Where
no, that came out in
women's minds.
2000.
Did it really? I thought it came out way earlier than that. I'm kind of impressed that you remember and just know when it came out.
Well, no, because we're doing it next year. Trust me. Well, I have it on the schedule. We're doing it next year.
Oh, you haven't run me by the schedule, after this, maybe we can go through the schedule, Luke.
I don't have a schedule. I'm just saying it's on the list. It's on the pre-schedule list.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Oh no, it definitely will be. So yeah.
Or should I say awesome?
Okay. So yeah, that's the thing. I just remember it being said a lot in The Simpsons, like in early Simpsons, obviously, about how women don't want like a macho man; they want a caring, sensitive man. And it makes sense, I guess. You know, you go from like the 80s, which was
Cold War,
a lot of like action movies. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Sylvester Stallone, they were the biggest stars. And into the 90s, who's the biggest star?
Bill Clinton.
No.
No, who is the biggest star in the 90s? I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio.
No, Tom Hanks.
Oh, Tom Hanks.
Fucking Hanks.
I get that. I was thinking of like more sex icons. I mean, Tom Hanks is, he's a big star.
No, well, that's the thing. He was like an icon, I guess. I don't know if sex icon is the correct thing. Like, I don't think less necessarily Leonardo DiCaprio was that. Well, he was, but he wasn't just that. And I think
I don't know. They tell that to the soaking wet theatre seats when they showed Titanic.
No, I said he wasn't just that.
Okay. Yeah, he's more than just an object.
Yeah, exactly. His performance in was it Gilbert? Oh yeah, What's Eating
Gilbert Gottfried?
No,
What's Eating Gilbert Gottfried?
What's Eating Gilbert Grape is a great performance. So yeah, he's not just that.
Yeah, it's a grape performance.
Fantastic.
Anyway, yeah, but regarding Oz, also there's a pretense for it, which is he basically is dating this college girl, and he tries to
college girl?
Well, okay, no, he takes her on a date.
That was a bit
courting would be more accurate. So he takes her in his car and you're like, he says, "Suck me, beautiful." I
mean, I don't think anyone can do that.
I paused it when he said that because I was cringing, and I've seen this film like 3 or 4 times before. When he said that, I paused it because I couldn't handle the cringe.
No, I think I wasn't cringing because I just thought that's just too unrealistic. Like nobody would say that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that is it. I mean, to be honest, I cringe easy. But yeah, and then obviously the thing is, then he kind of like tries to do this. Basically, he's trying to be a player, I guess, is kind of the implication. He's like, hey, he puts his arm around her, does that classic move. And he's like,
well, he doesn't actually yawn.
Yeah. And then obviously she's like, nah, you can't do that. You got to be like real and like not some player. You got to actually speak to a woman's emotions. And then he decides to become. What would be the term for it? Is they use the term? It's like freestyle blues or something. Freestyle vocal jazz.
Well, I'm just saying he's joins a choir.
A choir, that's it. Yeah, a choir. Good term.
Yes. And like I said, he goes down the caring and sensitive path, and maybe that's a bit harsh or a bit cynical when I say that, because it does seem like he is actually like that. He does actually have a passion for singing. Yeah. So again, like it does seem like the message is he just tries something new. And maybe he finds someone like who enjoys the same things he does, and obviously they then become in a relationship or get into a relationship. So yeah, again, that's kind of the message of that. He also realizes the pact was a stupid idea as well.
Yes, and also the thing is, you would kind of think if you were, you'd think if you were doing his story arc that it would be he pretends to like this choir thing, and then obviously eventually. Through his character arc, that his character arc is centered on him learning to love it. Perhaps with, for example, a second act moment where he makes some kind of mistake where he doesn't do anything, where he indicates he doesn't like it and it works out badly for him. Surprisingly,
maybe
that
not.
doesn't
maybe
happen.
He's just like he's sings with Heather, or I don't know. Like I do like the idea. He's like, I'm not really into it. I'm just here for the chicks, as he'd say, and then. He gets into it, and then he says to like Jim or someone like, "What? You know what? I'm really into this now." And it would make,
and he doesn't.
Yeah, and obviously he does the whole cliche of blowing off the final lacrosse game, to go and sing with the choir.
Yeah.
But I think obviously it'd be more meaningful if it came from like, you know what, I actually do love singing now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that leads on to, I think, the other thing which got me, which was that I think the actual quote unquote second act moment, as it were, was really tame. Basically, what happened was he was clearly seeming to very much enjoy this choir stuff, and also I just want to point this out: he is clearly the best catch because he is just generally good looking, seems to be actually caring, and have a wide variety of interests. He's quite a buff guy. Obviously, he's sporty, athletic.
But
so he's like clearly the best catch.
He is dumb. I just get the
guess
sense that he's dumb. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, being smart, it didn't really help somebody practically, especially if, most people are dumb. Okay. So it's kind of like, obviously, if you're a girl who like wants to read Tolstoy or something, then you probably wouldn't want to date him. But how many people really want to read Tolstoy?
I'm just saying negative about him. He's not.
Yeah, okay,
he's not
that's fine.
Is he?
Yeah, no, yeah. Don't worry, Luke. I'm sure. You don't need to feel insecure.
Thank God.
But anyway, basically, and then so she's waiting for him after lacrosse. Lacrosse it's weird that he plays lacrosse. It's weird that like lacrosse is the thing people play in this. Like American football exists.
No.
I don't understand why they're all playing lacrosse.
Like, lacrosse is a huge thing in America. Like it's with like fucking rich white people. Like they love lacrosse. I don't know why, but it is really like important to them.
Isn't it just like polo, but you forgot the horses?
It's the fastest game on land, Michael.
The fastest game on land.
Yep. That's what people say about lacrosse. Really?
I mean, to be honest, I didn't know people said anything about lacrosse.
No, that is the only thing they say about lacrosse.
Okay, that's the only thing they say about lacrosse. Anyway, but then obviously he is kind of walking over, and then the people start Stiffmeister and all that kind of stuff. They're like saying, "Hey, you're gonna get her. You're gonna get her, and you're gonna fuck her, and you're gonna push her face into the dirt and call her a filthy whore." And basically, Ozzy is just kind of he's like sort of bashfully.
Yeah, he's not joining in, is he?
Being like, yeah, he's just being like, oh, you guys, and he sort of like smiles, but like that's a very natural thing to do. Like, if your friends are all being like, oh yeah, you're gonna do it, boy, like to just sort of give the most minor of, yeah, guys, is like literally the least he could do, and that's basically the bad thing he does. And obviously, it doesn't really matter too much because at the end of the day, it's not like it causes this huge rift in their relationship anyway, and it sort of gets sorted out quite quickly. Well, actually, not that quickly. No. She's really angry at him, and then he has to do the duet to win her over. Basically, what I'm saying is, it's a pretty tame thing that he did that's bad, which further solidifies the fact that he's basically the Mary Sue of this film. I'll say it, Luke. He is the Mary Sue of this film.
No, you are right. Like, it's not like it's Stifler who's doing that, and he's just like standing there with his hands on his hips, which indicates like he's not like into it, or he's not enjoying himself, and just like giving like a wry smile, like, this guy's an idiot. Like that's if I was Heather in this situation, that's what I'd assume. But maybe that's because I'm not a bitch.
Yeah, I hate Heather so much.
I know. Anyway, but I do think I really do like the theory of people in the 90s were more caring and sensitive.
No, I get that.
Think about it. Tom
Hanks, it's because there wasn't any Trump.
Yeah, no Trump. He was a minor character in the 90s. Yeah, like think about it. Tom Hanks. What his apart from Forrest Gump. Well, kind of Forrest Gump again, I guess. But his best performance of the decade, Philadelphia.
Toy Story.
Oh, Toy Story. Yeah, I was going with Philadelphia.
no, I don't know. Yeah. Wait, his best performance of the decade?
The 90s, yeah.
To be honest, he did so much in the 90s, so I'm not complete... Because I'm immediately thinking of Saving Private Ryan, but I'm sure that's not what you're talking about.
No, I mean, I already said it, Philadelphia.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I must have been ignoring you when you said that. There we go. I'll just cut out you saying that from the.
Right, okay.
Yeah, rather than cutting out me misunderstanding it, I'll cut out you saying.
So again, there's another one, Saving Private Ryan. He's a caring guy in that movie as well. Like that's what I think that is the thing in the 90s. So yeah, it makes sense that Oz tries to go down that road.
Yes.
Anyway, so
goes down that old town road. Actually, did you have anything else to say about Oz?
No. Do you?
Well, okay. Basically, actually, you sort of already covered the cliche of him going to the singing thing. Classic, but other thing, just to show how overpowered this couple is. Also, she's maybe the hottest girl. Thoughts?
Well, I don't let it objectify women, Michael. So I'll be.
Well, I objectified Oz already.
That's
okay. No, but anyway, what I'm saying is that so they're the power couple. They got the best banging location. They literally banged on a dock under a blanket by a lake. So think about it, like one of the messages they have, like the message of, and this is actually going to work quite well as a transition, one of the messages of the Kevin story arc is that you don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. Meanwhile, you've got these people like making love in the moonlight on a dock by the lake in each other's perfect physical, chiseled, straight from the heavens looks.
Jeez, Michael.
It's ridiculous.
Do you need a cold shower or something?
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something about. I actually don't even know the name of the actor who plays him, to be honest.
I think it's Chris Klein.
Okay, yeah, got you. Anyway, Calvin Klein. Speaking of Calvin, what do you think about Kevin's story arc?
Yeah, it's Chris Klein. I mean, it's the least interesting one of all the 4 plot lines, isn't it?
Well, I have
it's just he's trying to win back his girlfriend. Who, the thing is, he loses his girlfriend by making such an innocuous comment. He just says, "Oh, I gotta get laid. I'm tired of these blowjobs, whatever."
I think that's probably worse than what Oz did, but it's still not that bad.
Yeah, but okay. I think it's bad, but what I'm saying is they could have done it in a better way. Just making an innocuous comment that your girlfriend happens to overhear. Yeah, that's you could have actually had him do something bad to piss her off. Well, obviously, actually do something instead of just say a line like that. But yeah, obviously, throughout the movie, he's just trying to get back on the good side, and yeah, that's pretty much it, really. And he doesn't.
I had a few things to say. Well, first of all, the thing about it being an innocuous comment, like you say, is that it's sort of if he would have said that and she wouldn't have noticed, it wouldn't have even been a problem.
Yeah, exactly.
He was just talking to us. So that's kind of and that obviously means it wasn't really an objective thing. It was just the fact she overheard it.
Yeah.
Which is the thing. The only thing I really wanted to bring up about his story arc, apart from the fact, I already brought up the fact that, it's a whole thing about, it doesn't need to be perfect.
Yes.
And I guess also, you could say, for example, he's got this whole thing about saying he loves her, and I suppose that's a thing that people have, this question of, should I, it's a heavy thing to say, and do you really want to do it? But the main thing I want to talk about is the sex Bible, and there's a reason why. Because it doesn't have much of an impact on the plot. Oh, also, by the way, his brother is played by Casey Affleck. Yeah. I recognized the voice. I was like, what is that voice? And I was like, it's Casey Affleck. Anyway, but as I mentioned when I was going through the American Pie spin-offs and naming them, the last American Pie spin-off is called The Book of Love.
Yes.
And basically it's about that book, and they find it again. And it's kind of weird when you look at it in this film that, he has it, and he uses it to, make her orgasm, as it were.
Do you have a problem with saying these words, Michael?
Trying to keep things PG here, but orgasm. And then, first of all, when he actually gets around to having sex with her, it's being completely forgotten that he supposedly has this incredible book that just makes you some expert at banging. I don't know, it's kind of you would think maybe that would be, his plot would be about that book and him using that book. But he does use that book, maybe for the first third, maybe slightly more than the first, maybe the first 2/5. But it's kind of weird that this book, which is apparently filled with all the ancient wisdom of having sex and stuff, just disappears. That's something I noticed, which I found strange about a story arc.
Yeah, I don't know. The book is interesting, but again, it's something that is rendered completely redundant by the internet.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Although, you know what, maybe that should be the American Pie, if they ever make another American Pie film, it should be about somebody just, uploading, photocopying, this would be the whole film, someone just photocopying each page, uploading it to the internet. That's all they're doing. Just turn it over. Just the camera holds on it for an hour and 30 minutes. Anyway, actually, one other thing about the Kevin story arc. I was expecting it to end, because obviously at the end they all lose their virginity. And of course, the message of the film, so the plot of the film is they're all trying to lose their virginity. And the message of the film is sort of that, it doesn't matter if you don't lose your virginity. With that in mind, it sort of would have made sense if one of the characters wouldn't have lost their virginity. And I was thinking it would make sense if it was Kevin who didn't lose his virginity, because, he's the one who's been, he was in a relationship. He was the one who should have been in the best position to lose his virginity. But then ultimately he decides, you know what? Because obviously the message of the film is it doesn't matter when you do it. So he could have just said, you know what? It doesn't matter when we do it. Let's not do it. And they would have been fine with that.
Yeah, I think that would have been
I was kind of thinking that.
That would have been a good message if he's like, yeah, no, I didn't do it, but you know what? It's okay, because we're still together.
Yeah, especially also seeing as he was the one who was he was the one who introduced the idea of the pact, and then obviously at the school dance, the prom,
his motivational speech, it's a great. Sorry, what?
That was poorly. Are we going to talk about the fact it was really badly acted?
Oh,
I just thought he wasn't very convincing at all with his
not a good
speech,
actor anyway, is he?
Yeah.
But I was just going to say it's it's a calling to incels. That's what I thought. They should have that on their subreddit. Do they have an incel subreddit? I feel like they do.
I think it got banned.
Oh, it got banned after the Toronto thing.
Yeah. Well, actually, to be honest, I don't know if it was even. I actually looked up. Okay. Yeah. Incel. This community has been banned for violating our content policy. I think they also, I don't know, might have been advocating for like, violence against women. Like, I think it wasn't just that the Toronto thing happened. Okay. And also there was a subreddit called Brain Cells, which was supposed to be like, it's really funny. It was supposed to be the intellectual. Oh, wait. Okay. I think we got it. Okay. Yeah. So it's the intellectual, underpinning of the incel community. It's okay. Here's the top post of all time. I went to the gym for the first time yesterday, and a bunch of Stacey's. Stacey's is like a term for,
I know.
Generic. Yeah. Okay, good. I don't know. I mean, you maybe don't know this stuff, Luke.
Yeah.
Because you're not an incel like
not
me.
like a viewer in. There was this fucking. I think it was CSI Miami.
Oh yeah.
And they had a storyline involving Chads and Stacey's, and it's hilarious. You should
really.
Go
Oh
look it
wow.
up. But yeah, go on.
Okay, I remember the one about gaming where the woman gets sexually assaulted in a bathroom at a gaming conference, and the woman comes out. One of the detectives comes out. And says, "Oh my god, what happened?" And the woman who just been, I guess, raped was like, "They leveled up."
What?
And that was like the line. Like she just said, "They leveled up,"
God.
and I didn't. And it was just like, but it's a really serious line. It's like they leveled up.
Jesus
Anyway,
Christ.
so I went to the gym for the first time yesterday, and a bunch of Stacey's made fun of me.
Wow.
Wow.
Why? Oh, wow. I don't even know. I'm. Do you know what? I'm going to say that's not real, and he just made it up in his head. I'm going to say that, but I would. Here's an idea: American Pie set in the year 2019, so 20 years later, but all the people trying to get laid are incels.
Yeah, and they're just really horrible. And they're just, the speeches about how feminism in video games is making it so.
Yeah, they have conversations, in school about that. Yeah, feminism in video games and how the new Lara Croft doesn't have big enough boobs.
Yeah, and you can have like all different characters. Like you'd have one of them go down the route of like it's because the Jews are trying to trick all the women into having sex with black guys.
Yes.
Like just watching like this avatar, like look at these adverts. Look at all the black men kissing white women. They're trying to get us, those Jews. And then you. What I would like though is you still have Jim, what's his face Stein, Jim Sheckelstein, being like, I'm not comfortable with this. Anyway.
No, I was thinking, like, if you put Jim 20 years on, does he become an incel? Is he on Reddit? Because obviously he said, I'm no good with girls. He says that line. Does he, like, go full on red pill?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, basically.
That is a question. We have to ask it.
Go on, yeah. It would definitely be likely. I mean, I think, but definitely the Stiflers, I mean, they're heading towards red pill territory, although I guess that for them it actually works. Like what I could see happening, okay, is you get a Stifler who can't get laid, and because he comes from this family of like hyper masculine dudes who are always trying to get laid all the time, that could be his storyline. He's like, I come from this family of like guys who are all hyper masculine and all getting laid, and I can't do it. And I hate
that's
women.
kind of like the Naked Mile, apart from the hate women part.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The Naked Mile. Naked Mile. He rides a horse in that, doesn't he, Luke?
I don't remember that bit, to be honest.
He does. That's all I remember because I was thinking of Old Town Road.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, we're done with Kevin, aren't we?
Yeah, we're done.
I can't remember how we got here, to be honest, but we're talking about incels, but it doesn't matter. We were talking about like how, it's all about needing to lose your virginity.
Oh yeah,
we're in a position to...
We were talking about how basically it would be good if Kevin didn't lose his virginity.
Yes.
And it's like the message is, hey, it's okay. And the thing is, obviously, I think...
Oh, and we were talking about how he was the one who did the whole speech.
Yes.
And also he was the one who was getting all stuffy at the prom where everyone was like, hey, screw this pact. And he was like, nah, don't screw the pact. The pact is really important.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd be good. But again, I guess all four have to lose it because, that's meant to be the conclusion to the story. And also, I do think, like, maybe you can comment on this, the relatability of Kevin and his girlfriend, two people who are going off to college, in high school. And wondering if they're going to break up. I think that is obviously incredibly relatable to a lot of people.
Basically, I'll tell you what, Luke, I was thinking about this the other day. I think it probably is better to just break up with somebody before you go to university because I don't know, it's just like everything changes so much that I feel like there's a few examples I know of people who like tried to stay together after university and very rarely did it actually work out. So basically, and then at the end of the day, it's just it's so unlikely to work. You might as well just give up. There you go. That's my advice.
Okay. Yep. It sounds like Homer Simpson.
And also, let's be honest. People who are in high school are idiots. So why would you let an idiot determine who you're going to spend the rest of your life with?
That's a good point. Can't argue with that. Yeah. Anyway, let's come on to Finch.
Speaking of idiots.
Oh.
Finch is quite smart.
Yeah.
My thoughts on Finch are, a finch is like a bird. but also, he's basically, what I find kind of funny about him is that his plan is very unproactive, which sort of just has like this sort of comedic effect in that, like, you don't really see him do that much, but the way you're introduced to his plan is pretty much by the things just happening around him, which I thought was kind of funny. He just had like, oh, do you know Finch? Oh, wow. And I was like, oh, I see what Finch is doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was much better than seeing him, like, be direct about it. I thought it would have been less funny.
Yeah, exactly. He's the left field of all the people trying to lose it.
Yes.
He, goes down the mysterious route, and I like it. Obviously there's not really, I have the thought there isn't a comic relief character, but I think the role with Finch, it's kind of the most comic reliefy because there's not really a focus on his character as much as the other three. So yeah, he just tries to obviously get people to talk him up, and obviously fail. Well, he doesn't fail in that. It's going well until Stifler decides to prank him with hilarious consequences.
Well, the thing about that is, I was thinking to myself, like, it's not really relevant to what he did, because I was thinking this is definitely going to be reading too much into it, but the author's dead, so we can read into it whatever we like.
Okay.
The kind of fact that he is able to spread these rumors about himself could be seen as commentary on the fact that, in a high school environment, these rumors about people spread very easily. And, it's kind of like he exploits that for his own advantage.
Well, obviously, that's what he does.
Yes. But I'm saying, like, you could sort of make that connection between the rumors being spread very easily. And that being a thing that's relevant to high school and sex. But also, his kind of second act moment, as we're fond of using the phrase, he doesn't really relate to the fact that what he did was, dishonest. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think what he did was particularly bad, but you would, generally speaking, if you're doing this story, you would have character does X, something complicating, so, something complicates X, which kind of shows his flaws in his reasoning or in his attitude or in his actions, and then character makes a resolution, Y, and becomes a better person at the end of it. Obviously, in this case, he just, what he does is not in any way kind of complicated by his own actions. It's just the fact he's given, diuretics.
He doesn't really get his comeuppance, as it were, because what I'd refer to as his comeuppance is he gets called out for being a fraud. Like somebody says, oh, he's got a tattoo.
Like what happened to Shermanator.
Yeah, exactly. What a great name. And so, he's like, he says he's got a tattoo, and then it's revealed he doesn't actually have a tattoo. Or something like that, and it's like, oh, you're a fraud, and everyone's laughing at him and saying, lol, you're making up all this
guy's
stuff.
a big phony.
Yeah, a big phony. And
big fat phony.
That would be better than he's just gets embarrassed by the fact that he went into the women's bathroom. But, I mean...
And crapped himself.
Yeah.
Although it is quite funny, it works with his character because he's a very dignified character, so I did appreciate that.
That bit works, but obviously, like, it would be nice if it was related to something that he did wrong in the first place. Then...
Like if one of the rumours he spread was that he never has massive diuretic shits.
And then he has a massive diuretic shit, yes. That would be perfect.
That would be classic. Yeah, everyone would be like, oh, he doesn't have massive diuretic shits, I'm going to ask him to prom. And then that was my pickup line.
I do really like the end of his arc there. And I do think he does have an arc if you think about it.
Is it because you're like MILF porn?
No.
You're a regular Ted Cruz.
I get that reference. That was great. So, yes, obviously Stifler's mum just comes out of nowhere. She's not really mentioned that much, obviously, there's a picture of her. Yeah. And you can argue, and I will, that Finch does kind of have an arc, because obviously when he's making stuff up about himself, he's pretending to be someone who he is not to get laid. Yeah. But when he actually is himself, i.e. talking about, scotch and all that, and being classy and dignified, that's when he manages to get laid. And if you think about it, obviously...
So the message is be yourself.
Be yourself. And if you think about it, all the stuff he's making up about himself are stuff, like that Stifler would be proud of.
Make up.
Well, not necessarily be proud of. And he, realises that, he doesn't realise it was the wrong thing, as we have discussed, but basically he gets off that road and then he has sex with Stifler's mum. So it's like a perfect character arc. It's a perfect circle, if you will.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I agree, actually. It does show how you do need to be yourself. It's a lot like, actually,
you need to be yourself and not like Stifler as well.
In American Pie 3, do you remember the plot between Stifler and Finch in American Pie 3? Where, obviously, there's a girl and... basically, I think Stifler thinks she's really classy at first, so he pretends to be really classy. And then Finch is like, you know what, I'm going to try being really brutish and oafish. And then obviously, basically, it ends up, the entire plot is that they're each trying to be each other. They're being the different people to who they are and how compete with each other. That was kind of funny.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, well done. Anyway, so anything else to say about Finch?
No, not really, no. I think that's it. Obviously, like we said before, every one of the characters accomplishes the goal of their pact, but they do it in the right way.
Yeah, I don't think we need to say anything about Stifler, actually. I mean, I had something about him. I mean, obviously, he's one of those characters who's good in small doses, and this becomes relevant in the later films too. Like, he's kind of an interesting character, and he's like a very distinct character, and like a very sort of... And he looks a lot like Jim Carrey.
He was the star of this movie, I think, when it came out. Like, I read that, I remember reading in American Pie 3 that the only reason why it happened is because the guy who played Stifler agreed to have a bigger role in it. Hence why he was so popular.
Which is funny, because for me, the worst thing in American Pie 3 is when Stifler has a dance fight with a gay guy in a gay club.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And that was the one moment. I mean, in general, I actually enjoy, which I'll get into in the conclusion. I think I'll bring some conclusion. But in general, I enjoy all 4 of the regular American Pie films, not the spin-offs. But probably the worst moment for me is that dance fight in episode 3. So it's kind of funny because obviously that was centered on Stifler. Yeah. And yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I think part of it, Dumb and Dumber. Like Jim Carrey's antics in like Dumb and Dumber, where he was just this really loud, obnoxious person. And obviously the character does look so much, or the actor does look so much like Jim Carrey, but even just ignoring that, like the idea of having a character who's just really over the top and annoying is something I don't think you see as much in comedy nowadays. But maybe back in the day, people were like, oh, I really love Stifler. Whereas to me, I don't know. Like, I mean, he's definitely better in small doses.
I think he was a fan favourite, I think.
Yeah.
But I think he also, like, kind of represents the guy. Well, I think why is he in this movie? It's because he's trying to be the guy who's, like, so, like, gross and, you know, like, misogynistic and all that to make the main guys more likeable. Because the main guys, and we'll talk about this in a bit, maybe objectify women a bit, you know, maybe you could say that. And so if you've got a guy who's, like, totally over the top in Stifler, it makes, you know, the bad elements of Jim, Oz, Kevin, and Finch, you know, doesn't look as bad, does it? So I think that is why he's in this movie.
Yeah. I could, definitely see that. So he's sort of like the barometer.
Yeah, if you like, if you're going to make a political comparison, if you imagine all the 4 main guys, they're like the John Kasichs, you know, or they're like the Jeremy Hunts, and Stifler's the Boris Johnson. So
yes, exactly.
Makes, you know, the other guys look better by comparison.
It's like when everyone was talking about how, like, Mitt Romney, everyone laughed at him for saying he had binders full of women.
Yeah.
And the context for that was that he said it was basically saying he wanted more women in positions of power in his executive office.
That's a great line.
And then you compare that with Donald Trump, who's literally just the most misogynistic person ever. And you think, oh man, I miss Mitt Romney.
Yeah.
Or Ed Miliband ate a bacon sandwich. Meanwhile, Jeremy Corbyn fucking supporting terrorism, anti-Semitism. Remember when our biggest problem was Ed Miliband eating a bacon sandwich? Of course, nowadays you wouldn't catch Jeremy Corbyn eating a bacon sandwich. No, wait, no, you would. You would.
Why?
Shoving it in a Jew's face.
Oh.
That's what he'd be doing.
Okay.
He'd be going, hey, you little Jew, eat this bacon. Classic Jeremy Corbyn.
Yeah, I could totally see Jazza doing that. Okay.
What an alpha move.
What are we on to next?
So I think you said everything needs to be about Stifler. So next is the humour.
The humour. I'll start by picking out some lines I like. So it's when they're talking about girls having sex on prom, and I think Jim says it's like a tradition, and Finch says the line, like the Rose Bowl. I just love that line because it's so nonchalant. I'm just like, I don't know if he's expressing the just ridiculous nature of Jim's comment, but or reacting to it. Yeah. But yeah, I just really like that line. Stifler, when Oz is talking to everybody about how he's being more sensitive and, you know, just gonna talk to the girls and listen to them. And fucking hell, sorry about that.
Hello, Luke. Someone's popped up.
And then Steve says, Stifler says, that seems like a lot of work. I know it's cliche, but the delivery really is great. Like, he seems so pissed off about it. I do like that. And when Nadia is on the bed at Jim's house, I get another line from Finch when she's looking at the pornography and the magazines, and he just says casually, "Oh, bet she reads the articles," or something like that. And
that.
And also, again, It's I think it's Finch again who says this when Naddie's looking at the. So Jim's blown it with Naddie for the first time, and Jim's looking at the magazines, and to try and convince Naddie, look, I'm into attractive women or whatever. I can't remember what he's saying. Not as attractive as you though. And Finch says, Jim, just wait until she leaves. Like getting out of the porn.
Yes.
Yeah. So those were my favourite lines of the movie.
Yeah, I actually don't have any specific lines. There were lines which did make me laugh, but like in general, I mean, for me, it was more like moments, especially. Okay, so there were a few things I liked. I guess you'd call them set pieces in a way. So I liked the whole thing with the cum in the beer. Mostly, number one, I think credit for the way that they kind of reintroduced that. And like, so obviously in the second one, someone pisses in his mouth, and in the third one, he eats dog shit.
Yes.
Yeah, I also like how that's a natural progression. Because, like if you imagine, for example, it's a woman, swallows a guy's cum. Okay, that's pretty normal. A woman lets you piss in her mouth. All right, okay, now you're dealing with some reasonably kinky stuff. A woman lets you shit in her mouth. Well, I mean, at that point,
all bets are off.
You got to marry her. I mean,
no, but the thing is, it's not for Stifler though, because I think Stifler would rather someone piss in his drink than cum in his drink. I'm just going to make that assumption.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah, I think that's true. So that's the thing. I kind of had to focus it on women because I think that's kind of a different situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Would you rather drink another man's piss or another man's jizz?
Piss, obviously. That's the fucking easiest answer in the world.
Well, I mean, obviously, the thing is, you got to realize that jizz has protein in it, so you would get gains.
Yeah, I don't really think that's the...
No, but okay, what I liked about the scene, though, is kind of like the way that they sort of play it up by having people constantly, or, it's him and a girl, and she's about to take a drink, and he stops her. Yeah. And then, so I thought that I like that. Good build-up. And then the only other thing, I did really enjoy him fucking the apple pie. I don't know if it's an apple pie, I don't know, berry pie based on its colour, but...
So this is like the famous scene from the movie, and I didn't find it that funny.
I don't know, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you what I did like. I liked, and this is going to be a good segue, I liked Levenstein's, I can't remember what the dad, I think it's called Noah, is that right? Noah Levenstein?
Don't know, but yeah, Jim's dad, basically. Yeah,
Jim's dad. I liked his when he was sort of just did a bit of a smash cut and it was like, looking at the pan, it's like, well, I guess we'll just tell your mum we ate it. And in general, like, I liked the dad, just because
his dad was great. Yeah, I think those scenes with him are just classic scenes. Like they really are. They really hold up to this day, and they're still really funny. There's no line in particular like I picked up before, but it's just like all the it's just really good comedy.
No, yeah, exactly, and yeah, it's I just thought to myself, that's what I want to be like when I'm a dad. I want to just try and make my child's life as painful as possible.
Showing his kid porn.
Yeah,
you see the look that that woman's giving you when she's staring at you.
Yes.
It's really well done. And like I said, he's a character that I think came back in several of the sequels.
No, yeah, he comes back in every single one because he is sort of, if you like, the glue for the spin-offs.
Yes.
Like he appears in every single spin-off in this. But yeah, also he gets the last scene. He does his little dance at the end.
Again, I like that. That's good.
So,
also,
nice little dance.
One Time at Band Camp, Michael.
Oh yes, of course, yeah. So I mean, that's just like, it's so classic.
Classic.
It's like just the and obviously you get a spit take. I mean, that's a great comedy device. So it's like, one time at band camp, I shoved the flute in my pussy.
Yeah, that's a good line.
Yeah, it's like, but also, I mean, I guess the build up to that, where it's like she's like, she tells this story, and it's like, okay, so Jim's kind of like summarizing. Okay, so the story is you kissed the guy on the lips for 20 seconds, and she's like, yeah, but he was such a nerd, and it was so gross.
Yeah,
and it's like, yeah, I mean, so yeah, that's honestly, she's a good character. Like,
no, she is. Yeah, well, that's why she comes back and eventually marries Jim, of course. Yeah. In number 3. Also, here's one that I'm not sure it's under comedy, but like the whole Stifler's mom thing. I agree. I enjoyed that. That was quite funny. And
Stifler's reaction when he comes in and he just sees it and he's like,
that's good. Also the phrase MILF. So I'm wondering, because like obviously one of the characters, I think it's Kevin, asks what does MILF mean, and then the guy from Harold and Kumar, I can't remember which one is he.
You know what? I thought it was the guy from Harold and Kumar, but I didn't want to seem racist.
It definitely is. Like there's.
So I'm 99% sure that Kumar's the Indian-looking guy because his name's Kumar.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So surely Harold is the Asian-looking guy.
He's also in American Beauty. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Him and Mina Savari. So yeah. I don't. Did this movie come up with this line? Surely not.
Okay, so here's the thing. Okay, The concept of the MILF predates the term. Okay, that's a stupid thing to say. The term was first documented in internet news groups during the 1990s. That's a citation there, if you're interested. It's an example of 1995 internet use of MILF. So, 1995 apparently. It was popularized by by the film American Pie.
Yes.
So, but where John Cho's character, that's his name, simply credited as MILF Guy Number 2, used the term to refer to Jennifer Coolidge's character, Janine Stifler. So,
MILF Guy.
Yeah, basically, so American, so apparently, I mean, it says 1990s and the example is from 1995. And obviously it says popularized by American Pie, so I guess a lot of people wouldn't have heard of that term before then, which is kind of funny because obviously, I was aware of the term MILF and I kind of never really thought about where it came from, but I wonder when DILF came about.
I don't know. Obviously you mentioned MILF predates the term, or the concept does, and obviously the original concept was Mrs. Robinson.
Yes.
Back in 1968, I want to say.
I think I just had it there, so I think you're right.
Go on, tell me if I'm right, go on.
67.
Fuck.
It's a shame it wasn't 69.
Obviously in the movie The Graduate. And of course, when Stifler's mom is trying to seduce Finch, Mrs. Robinson is being played at the top. So anyway, I think we're done on comedy. Again, I'll just sum up, I guess, on comedy. I think it's it's clever. A lot of the comedy, I mean, when I say it's clever, like a lot of the jokes are around sex and stuff, but like the way it's executed is quite clever. Like you meant,
it's not lazy.
No, again, that is accurate. It is not lazy. And normally you do associate this type of comedy with laziness, but this movie is not lazy, and I think that's part of the reason why it was such a success, is because they really took their time with all the set pieces and the hijinks and all of that. And like you said, when Stifler, in the lazy movie, he'd just literally drink the beer, wouldn't he? Like the beer full of cup, but he keeps on passing it between him and the girl he's with, and they just really did take their time to make sure this movie was as funny as it could be. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
What were you going to say?
Well, era next. So sort of, and again, I wasn't sure if I wanted to include this because I've only got one thing, but you were quite adamant it should be included.
I wasn't adamant.
You said if you didn't include this, you wouldn't do the podcast.
Okay, what do you have to say on it? You go first.
Well, I just wanted to bring up the fact that they watch porn on TV. Imagine watching the porn on watching the porn. Imagine watching the pornographies on the television.
Pornography has come so far, so far. Yeah,
that's like crazy. I mean, I can't imagine like what it must have been like in the past. But I guess there was one point when they had to jerk it to cave painting. So
yeah, I guess so. So yeah, I mean, like, talking about the era, it does seem like this was. I've said this before to you, maybe not on this podcast, but the late 1990s do seem like a time where American culture was like, at a good time. Everyone knew their place. There wasn't any.
They had that surplus. It's the economy, stupid.
There wasn't any cultural upheaval, if you will, like there is today, or in the 60s or the 70s or whatever, or even in the 2000s with the Iraq War. And you can tell by the fact that there is literally no black people in this movie. Didn't give a shit about diversity.
You know what I noticed, actually? I noticed at the end when they showed the picture of all the kind of couples coupling off, the only two black characters couple off together.
That's perfect. Yeah.
You could see segregation is alive and well.
Yeah. That's the thing I was thinking when I was watching this movie. It's like, it is in a rich area. Like, it's about rich white kids, obviously.
Yeah. And Michigan doesn't have too many black people, I don't think. When I think of Michigan, I think of, like, angry white people, like Eminem.
Not in...
Oh, actually... Detroit.
Yeah, I thought you were joking there.
Yes. You know what I mean? The thing is, like, what happened was I was like, I think of angry white people, like Eminem, and I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. Wait.
Where was Eminem from?
And where did Eminem get his style from? Where did he become?
Also, actually, Flint, which famously doesn't have any water because that's where the black people live.
And that is not even an exaggeration. So, yeah, Michigan. This movie, I looked up on the Wikipedia page, is set in West Michigan. And obviously, West Michigan is different to Detroit and Flint and places like that. West Michigan, Grand Rapids, and I think it's a wealthier white area of Michigan. And so, it makes sense, I guess, that there was not really a focus on diversity.
Well, what about the Upper Peninsula, Luke? Come on, you're an expert on Michigan. What's the Upper Peninsula like? Is it just like Canada?
I assume it's just rednecks. Like,
that's probably it. Yeah.
So anyway,
like Fargo.
Yes. I just wanted to comment on that. On the time it was set in.
Yes,
because I think, like, I'm not sure, there's literally no, like, I don't know, social talk or political talk in this movie at all, is there?
Yeah, I think you're right, though. It's because there was, this wasn't a time when there was much in the way of, like, social or political identity.
Yeah,
I mean, basically, the only thing they had to be angry about was some guy getting a blowjob.
And yeah, there you go. That was it. So I think we should talk about the problematic elements of American Pie now, Michael.
Yes.
And unfortunately, well, I don't know if unfortunately is the right word, but even though we both said we liked it, I think we need to talk about it.
Okay, Luke, first of all, do you want to hear something incredible? What? The page, so I've got a big list of notes for my films, and I always save it on the same document. It just so happens that we're on page 69.
Classic. I'm on page 72.
Yeah. Yes. The thing about...
So
really?
I
So you're clearly writing more notes
yeah.
than me. Yeah, yeah. So the thing about this film, it is a teenage sex comedy. And there's a problem with a film being a sex comedy.
What is that problem?
And it's this. Comedy is often about, getting one over on people. Or, it's about people being unaware of things. For example, dramatic irony. That's a classic tool of comedy where the one character doesn't know something, another character does know this. And this leads to, inevitably, if you combine this with sex, then you end up with things like, and I think we have to talk about kind of the 1980s pretense here with films like Revenge of the Nerds, where one of the nerds dresses up like one of a woman's boyfriend and then has sex with her while the woman is under the impression that she's having sex with her boyfriend. So there we go. That's fantastic. So basically in the 1980s...
Well, no, even before that, what was that movie that came out in 78? I can't remember. Was it Animal House?
Was it 16... Oh, yeah.
Animal House? I want to say...
So. I mean, the thing is...
Because there's a famous scene, sorry. There's a famous scene in which there's a guy that spies on a women's locker room. And... Yeah,
well, it is 78. To be honest, I haven't actually seen that film. But...
I think it's that movie. But basically, yeah, you're right. That, like, sex comedy, it comes from a very misogynistic place, basically. There's actually an Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode on this, believe it or not. Oh, really? Yeah. It's about how they kind of like mock the idea of sex comedy back in like the 80s and early 90s and late 70s, and about how it wasn't really comedy, it was just like abusing women. So I
think I remember that. I remember that episode vaguely. Yeah. They also have there's a College Humor sketch called Most Wacky Hijinks from the 80s Were Mostly Rape.
Yeah.
And they kind of go through like, all the things they did. It was just, yeah.
Exactly.
And obviously in these films, I mean, so even in the prequels or whatever, there's lots of stuff. I'll tell you what, I want to go through my 3 top things I noticed from the other films. Number 1, there's a scene where
sequels,
a guy... the sequels. There's a scene where a guy puts peanut butter on his dick and his dog licks it. That's animal abuse. Speaking of animal abuse, there's a scene where a guy gets raped by a moose.
What?
Which again is, and that's kind of played as a joke. And then I guess there's a scene they come on some guy's sun cream, stuff like that. But in this film, obviously, do you want to go talk us through some of the classic things that this film has to offer? Okay,
well, I think there's only one time it goes really too far.
Yes, exactly. Yes, the only other minor thing I have is that Stifler, yeah, slaps some girls' asses without their consent.
Oh yeah,
which he does in every single film. So obviously that's
not played for comedy, really, is it? That's just him showing he's a prick, really. Well, I'd hope it was.
Yeah,
I hope the audience get the message from that anyway.
But the big one, obviously, I'll let you.
Yeah, it's obviously Nadia. I think throughout the whole movie, obviously, it's from a male perspective. They are kind of treating women poorly, kind of objectifying them, wanting just to have sex with them. Again, it does reflect reality. Let's not lie. I think teenage boys aren't the least misogynistic.
Not all men, Luke. Not all men.
I know, but generally, they're. I don't need to really go into that. I think everyone knows it's based in reality. But the one time it does go very much too far is with Nadia. It is really quite bad. So yeah, you got this like ultimate teenage fantasy, I guess. This beautiful foreign woman has come in, into your room, into your house, and is open to having sex with you, whatever. I just, it is, like I said, like a teenage fantasy. And what Jim decides to do with, everybody agreeing, like nobody's brings it up about how, hey, maybe this isn't, that good for Nadia. Maybe she doesn't like being being half nakedly broadcast in front of the whole school or the whole group of people watching. And yeah, it is really, even though the scene, like we said, it is funny. Yeah, it is really quite bad. I'm pretty sure it's illegal. I'm pretty sure that would be a crime, like videotaping someone without their consent. So yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what. Famously, I think they recently made a law in the UK against revenge porn.
Yes.
And I know that because basically Coronation Street, ever the program inclined to do civic duties, did a sort of think piece storyline on that, and they basically, the plot was that a character, sorry, I interrupt something. The plot was that a character did upload revenge porn, and then they got arrested. And basically, all of the young men who watch Coronation Street, well, now they know that it's illegal. But yeah, basically, it is obviously.
I'm pretty sure it is illegal. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely illegal now. Honestly, like the thing is, the laws like that have been fuzzy. Like, for example, feminist critic Christy Winters pointed out in her debate with UKIP candidate Carl Benjamin, aka YouTube personality Sargon of Akkad. It's actually like quite a funny, quite a funny exchange. Basically, she debated Carl Benjamin, and Carl Benjamin's like, what are the issues that feminists are even fighting? You're just concerned about women in video games, blah blah blah. And Christy Winters was like, if a man takes you home and while you're drunk or like passed out, orally penetrates you, then that's not a crime in Oklahoma. And Carl Benjamin just has like nothing he can say in response, because his entire argument is, you don't care about anything. She's like, yeah, you can just, rape somebody orally in Oklahoma and it's not against the law. And he was like, so basically, yeah. But the point is, so obviously the main message there, apart from that Carl Benjamin's an idiot, is that there are a lot of loopholes in various laws. So let's just say that it may actually not be illegal in modern day Michigan to broadcast somebody getting naked in your room, but I think we can all agree it should be, and it's definitely not the thing that you should be doing.
Yes. Again, the thing is, like, when I'm saying it, I'm pretty sure it's legal, because like you say, like, uploading revenge porn, like you say, is, I imagine it's legal.
Yeah, but that's in the UK. Honestly, I mean, who knows what the US is up to.
the United States, maybe, because I think that is quite a progressive law, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It would be understandable if the United States hadn't gone that far. But anyway, yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, actually, when this film was released, it had only been 2 years since it became technically legally possible to rape your wife in the UK.
You mean illegally?
No. So what I mean, so when I say legally possible, I mean, in other words,
I get you. Yeah.
The idea. So before 1997, the phrase "I was raped by my spouse" wouldn't mean anything, because legally, you could not rape your spouse in that that wasn't counted as rape. So it was only in 1997 in the UK, 2 years before American Pie was released, that they said, hey, you know what? If you're married to someone, that doesn't just mean you can force yourself upon them whenever you want. So, yeah.
That's crazy.
Also, do you know that guy, Richard Littlejohn?
Yes.
Who famously writes for like the Data. He basically said he argued against the law.
Of course.
Because of course he did. And he basically said, like, women would never have sex with their husbands if the law was passed. So he's great in bed.
Yeah. These people just tell on themselves so much. It's great.
I know, anyway, yeah. So basically, you're right. But I think, so obviously that is problematic. I think there's an interesting question, which is, how much should that impact one's enjoyment of the film? What do you think, Luke?
Well, like I said before, the scene's enjoyable.
Yeah.
And when I'm watching it, obviously it has been quite a while since I watched American Pie the last time, and obviously in recent years, because obviously the first time I watched it I was younger, I didn't consider how Nadia would feel about all this, But now watching it again, I'm like, yeah, they really screw with her, and she would be obviously embarrassed, and she goes back to her own country the next day, doesn't she? Like, that's how much Jim screwed with her. And the thing is, people aren't really like taking, they're not shaming Jim, they're just making fun of him. Obviously showing like what he actually did wasn't looked down upon, was it? Oh, it was more like him prematurely ejaculating. That was the real issue. So yeah, again, like, it's bad, but I think it's the only bad point. So
no, yeah, exactly. I was
just saying, yeah, I think because it is the only bad point, I'm gonna say, yeah, it doesn't affect my enjoyment of the movie, because it is not something that consistently happens throughout it. It's just once, really. Yeah,
I was thinking this film is a good example of why in PSHE, I assume PSHE is what it's called everywhere. Yeah. I mean, ever since I found out that it was called high school where you come from. So that stands for, PSHE stands for Physical, Social and Health Education for any international viewers. And it's basically in the UK. It's like our coverall for sex education and kind of drug awareness and all that sorts of stuff. And I was thinking, we should really have kind of like a problematic media awareness in PSHE, because obviously the thing is, you can't say that nobody's allowed to watch American Pie, or American Pie's bad, and hashtag American Pie's cancelled. But at the same time, films like American Pie would be a really good way of sort of communicating to people, if we sort of did have education focused on saying, hey, this film, it's funny, obviously people find it humorous, people find it enjoyable, but it does have some, problems in it. And obviously, you could maybe educate people and say, look, you educate young people who need to hear this message of, like, it's not okay to, do these things. And, even so I think basically that would be sort of a good solution rather than just cancelling
even
it.
if they added in a line from one of the characters, like, how could you do that to Nadia? That would make it, like, so much better, I think.
Yeah,
exactly.
They
don't even do that, so yeah. But yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but basically, yeah. So the thing is, it's not like don't watch this film because, or to be honest, I would say it really doesn't impact. It would kind of be a bit like saying. I mean, I guess you can actually say there are some things. I was going to say it'd be kind of a bit like saying racism in films from the 30s makes them bad. But then, having said that, it does kind of. So that's not a good example. But it is relatively minor in the grand scheme of things, and you just place it in your context and say, you know what? As long as you're an intelligent person who is able to critically evaluate the media you consume and realize that it might not have some great messages in it, then enjoy it. And obviously most teenagers probably aren't like that, so hopefully most teenagers are able to find out one way or another through our cucked SJW education system that it's not okay to film somebody without their consent getting naked.
Yeah, things age...
But Carl Benjamin's going to stop that, Luke.
Yes,
he's going to fix it.
Things age badly, basically, and this is one of those scenes that has aged badly, and it...
Yeah, except Stifler's mum.
Hey. And so yeah, that's pretty much it. I think it comes out well. So, do you want to move on to concluding?
Yeah. We're making record time on this.
Well, not really.
No, we're not. So this film again, the problem with this film is it's really good at what it is. Something I was thinking when I was making, like 4 films into my slog through the 4 American Pie spin-off films is that I probably should have watched Superbad.
You know what? On the Wikipedia page, it actually has a section right at the bottom, similar film, Superbad. Which is
because like I think because what I want to say is that this film is probably the definitive teen sex comedy. Having said that, a lot of people think Superbad's really good,
I think
ironically,
I think this is the definitive teen sex comedy.
All right, so I'll take your word for it, Luke. Because to be honest, the thing is, I haven't actually seen Superbad. I must admit, even though like it makes more sense for me to have seen Superbad than it does American Pie.
But it just I'm not sure which is the better movie, but I'm just talking about which is has the biggest legacy, has had the most impact. It's this movie, definitely.
Yes. As for this film, I think it's really good at what it is. It's not some great masterpiece. But to be honest, I think I'm feeling kind of like a high 6 to a low 7. Which is because immediately as I was kind of thinking about it before I sort of got around to watching it with a critical eye, I was thinking that when I did watch it with a critical eye, it would maybe work out around a kind of middle 6. I'm thinking a high 6 now, and I'm thinking possibly. I'm going to go for above. No, I'll go, I will go above Forrest Gump. That's maybe a controversial take.
Wow.
But I'm going to go above Forrest Gump and below The Shape of Water. Again, I mean, that might not mean much because honestly, I don't really remember The Shape of Water that well. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'd kind of feel bad because The Shape of Water, it did win a Best Picture. Well, actually, did Forrest Gump win Best Picture too?
Yes, it did, yes.
Okay, so I guess that completely invalidates my argument. I guess I don't want to put it above Shape of Water because Shape of Water won Best Picture. But whatever. Fine. But just say, I mean, that's about right. My main point is that it's a high 6, low 7, and that's in my high 6, low 7 range. So American Pie, high 6, low 7. Also, additional point, if you do like this film, then I don't think you would dislike, which is to say you would like, probably the 3 sequels. But don't watch the spin-offs because they're terrible. But to be honest, the sequels, they're pretty good. There's a slight degree of diminishing returns. But honestly, if you enjoyed this film, it's worth it.
Okay. So this movie, like I said at the start, it's quite simple. It's not that complicated for guys trying to lose their virginity. But I think one of the reasons why it works is, of course, the relatability aspect. And one of the reasons why it's a good movie, the comedy, like we said, it is not lazy. It is about sex and, stuff like that. But it is kind of clever. It is done with some expertise. It is executed very well. So
yeah. I should probably add that I thought the plot construction in particular was quite good, like the way the characters had. I just felt like I should add that because I was meaning to say that as I was thinking about it, and I sort of got distracted with my whole Best Picture conversation. So yeah, the plot construction for each character was very good.
And although the premise is quite, I don't know, what's the word you would use, Michael? The premise, like garish. I don't know. Is that the right word?
I was gonna use the word. I had the word in my head. What is it? Oh, I'm gonna. You know what? Just talk, and I'll come up with the word. Like, before you finish.
Okay. So whatever the premise is, basically, whatever you think about it, the message in the end, I think, is the correct message. Like, hey, don't put, as Jim says, don't put all this pressure on yourself. It's not worth it and all that.
Vulgar?
Well, yeah, that's good. That is a good word. Well done. Yeah, even though the premise is vulgar, I don't think it's vulgar, but it could be interpreted as vulgar.
Would you enjoy this on your Christian Minecraft?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm fine with it, obviously, but people might criticize it as vulgar, but I think the message negates that. The message of like, hey, it's okay. Don't put, like Jim says, pressure on yourself. It's not that important. And all the people in the movie who try to lose their virginity learn that message along the way. And so, yeah, I think the key to this movie is that message at the end. And Roger Ebert, I think, kind of agrees with me on this. So I'm going to say a quote from him. He awarded it...
appeal to authority fallacy.
He awards it 3 out of 4 stars. He noted, it's not inspired, but it's cheerful and hardworking and sometimes funny. Here's the important thing. It's not mean. Its characters are sort of sweet and lovable. And I think that's the key. Like, the characters are sweet and lovable because they do come to that realization. They're not, like, horrid or whatever. They are, like, actually, nice characters. So that is the key with this movie. That is the real important thing, and that's why its legacy, even though it does have that problematic scene with Nadia, I think that's why it's still enjoyed to this day and still has a good legacy overall. So I am going to give this movie, what shall I give it, Michael? I think a 6.5 out of 10. Would that be fair?
That would be in keeping with my high 6, low 7.
High 6, low 7.
Because I think while I said high 6, low 7, I think I've placed it in my high 6 range. So
okay.
That would be in keeping with
So, yeah, that is what I'm going to give it then, a 6.5 out of 10.
Good, yeah. Let me get ready so I can answer flawlessly when you tell me what we're going to be, or ask me what we're going to be reviewing next.
Well, first thing, Michael, we need to do some receipts.
Yep, thought so.
So, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out. Do you remember what you predicted it would get on Rotten Tomatoes?
I went high. I went like 90 something, didn't I?
You predicted 95.
You went 85?
I went 85. And it's 84.
Oh wow!
Oh my god, I'm so good at this.
I thought it would be in the middle of us, to be honest. Like, I don't know.
84. You see, that's the thing with Tarantino's films. They never quite reach their 95. None of them do. And I'm like, it's probably not going to be one of his best. So, there you go. Luke.
I should probably start looking at the Rotten Tomatoes things for like the directors we're looking at, so I get some more context.
Yes.
Clearly, that's my problem. Clearly, you've been boning up.
Boning up. Yeah, I guess so. So yeah, I'm 9-5 in front now, Michael. So catch me if you can. Obviously, that's another Leonardo DiCaprio movie. But anyway, Michael, what are we doing next week?
I don't know. No, we're doing we're doing Do the Right Thing, or should I say we're doing the right thing?
Yeah.
By reviewing Do the Right Thing.
Do you think we should? Do you think we should do the right thing first, or do you think we should do Driving Miss Daisy first?
I don't know that I mind, but I think maybe let's say do Driving Miss Daisy.
Let's do Driving Miss Daisy first, because I wanted to do them back to back for obvious reasons.
Yes,
so.
Because they have the exact same message.
Yes, exactly. So I think we shall do Driving. We shall do Driving Miss Daisy first. Yes. Okay. Good. All right. Good. All right. So yes, thank you for listening. We have been selecting and reflecting on American Pie because it's been 20 years since it has come out. Join us next week for Driving Miss Daisy. Goodbye.
Goodbye.